Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our fifth Family Education Night of the 2024-2025 school year. This is one session in a series of 6. My name is Kristen Parson, and I'm the IEP Liaison for Northstar's Career Center. I'd also like to introduce Holly Peel, who is the Director of the Career Center. At the Career Center, we work with juniors, seniors, and young adults with disabilities to help them build career readiness skills they can use as they transition out of secondary education and enter the workforce. You can learn more about the different programs that we offer on the Career Center tab of Northstar's main website, or you can reach out to us directly via email, and we'll be sure to post that contact information into the chat shortly. We are very happy to have 2 guest speakers with us this evening who have generously donated their time and expertise. First, we will hear from Marissa Downs, who will be providing an overview of sponsored residential. Although Marissa is a new speaker to our series this year, this is her 6th year as part of the Northstar family. She began as one of our IEP liaisons and is now the Student and Family Engagement Coordinator. Outside of Northstar, Marissa has been supporting young adults with disabilities as a sponsored residential caregiver for 7 years. Following Marissa's presentation, we will hear from Kelsey Calder with GRTC. Kelsey is a nationally certified travel training instructor who provides travel training to seniors and people with disabilities. She will be speaking about the services that GRTC offers, including how to request and participate in travel training. And my understanding is that she has a few exciting updates to share around GRTC's services as well. Unfortunately, one of our other speakers, Sarah Thompson, will not be joining us this evening. Sarah is the Life Skills and Transition Program Manager with Commonwealth Autism, and she usually speaks on the skills needed to live independently and discusses how transition milestones and independence look differently for everyone. Commonwealth Autism offers programming for young adults who want to learn and use those skills. Even though she was not able to join us this evening, please know that her presentation and the recording of last year's presentation will still be made available to you. She's a wonderful resource, so we encourage you to reach out to her directly if you would like to learn more. Her contact information will be included in that presentation. We have a full and exciting night ahead of us, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Marissa, and the rest of us are going to turn off our cameras. Please remember that you are welcome to chat any questions or comments that you have, and there will also be an opportunity to ask more personal questions at the end of tonight's presentations once we have stopped the recording.
Hi, everyone. Like Kristen just shared, my name is Marissa Downs. I've been a part of Northstar for 6 years. And beyond that, my husband participate in a sponsored residential program where we have 2 individuals that live with us that we support and care for and help build their independent living skills, their daily living skills, as well as like their community engagement is what we support. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what sponsored residential is, because if you're like me, did not know that this was an option or an available route for adults when they're looking for ways to build their independence, or families are like, what's next? So I put my email here at the bottom, but it's on the last slide as well. So we'll keep going. So just an overview about what sponsored residential is. It's a care model where individuals with developmental disabilities can live in the home of a trained caregiver, often becoming a part of the caregiver's household and family life. This offers an alternative to institutional care, group homes, bringing a more intimate and personalized environment for the individuals and also for the families that are choosing this route. And it just helps support the individual with assistance or daily living, medical needs, or behavioral support. Some key features about sponsored residential are that it's a home-like environment. Typically, there's only like 1 or 2 individuals that are a part of each home. It is personalized care, so we are very specific to the individual's needs, such as their personal care, their behavior support, medical assistance, any kind of skill development. It is community integration. We are working on getting our clients out into the community in areas of their interest and supporting them in those areas. If it's that the client wants to participate in an art program, in a sports program, in volunteering, that is what we are there for. And we're looking for opportunities and bringing them out to be a part of our communities. Focus on relationships is another key feature of it. So you really are opening up your family and supporting this individual, and they're becoming a part of your family. So it is fostering a long-term and meaningful relationship. And it's just a smaller ratio of care. I don't know kind of the statistics of what a typical group home or other independent living facilities are, but like I mentioned earlier, it is a 1 or 2 client situation. So how it works are there are licensed agencies that recruit and license the caregivers to provide sponsored residential services in their homes. There's caregiving matching, so the agency has to match those caregivers with the right individuals and families that will best support their needs as the families see fit. It's ongoing support, so these agencies will oversee and support the provider with training and resources and routine monitoring to ensure quality care. Something that we go through is we follow certain guidelines that we have to, but required by the state. We are open to audits that can occur as well at any time. So these agencies help support and make sure that things are in place and that the client is being provided a safe, loving, caring environment. And it is covered by Medicaid waivers. So in Virginia, it's primarily funded through the community living waiver, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it covers overall the cost of care, housing, and support services. How do you access it? So the first thing that you would need to do is go through the steps to see if you are eligible for the Medicaid waiver, specifically the community living. And in order to do that, you would contact your community services board, your CSB, if that's an acronym that you've heard, I'm sure, and you request a screening. And the CSB is going to assess the individual's needs. They're going to determine if you qualify, if the individual qualifies for waiver services. So that's step one. And a tip or something that a lot of families that I've worked with over the years has shared is once you have that CSB case manager, you're going to want to keep them updated on everything that's going on. If it's a hard day, the good things that are happening, just it helps them have the full picture of the individual or the client's needs to be able to advocate or properly make sure they get the right tools. Step 2 is going to be you're going to apply for the waiver. Often, unfortunately, there is a wait list. 9 times out of 10, it can be a long process. So it's always encouraged to start this process earlier than later. Talk to your CSB, go through the screening. If you qualify, you'll be put on a wait list. And it's always based on a priority of like the urgency of need. There are certain situations that would bump people up on the wait list for certain emergency needs. But overall, there typically is a wait time. And your CSB case manager can walk you through that. So you'll work with that case manager, or they're sometimes called support coordinators through the CSB after that, and the case manager will help identify like what services and if sponsored residential is an option and an opportunity for the client. And they'll make sure that it aligns correctly with the individual's needs and their preferences for what they want for their life. Step 4 would be you need to find a sponsored residential provider. So there are quite a few in our community and local to the Richmond area. So the case manager will help you select a provider agency. You can go and tour, you can ask questions, see kind of how each provider runs this program. And then there's that matching process. So the agency assesses the individual's personality and preferences, their needs, and goals to find them a compatible caregiver and home environment. So that was what I was talking about earlier, that matching process. Your provider agency and your case manager will help support that, but ultimately it is the family and client's choice. So step 5, you would meet with that caregiver. You'll have the opportunity to kind of build some rapport, visit their homes, ensure that the household and the caregiver are a good fit. And then step 6 would be move in and support. So once that match is made, the individual moves into the caregiver's home. The provider and agency continue to monitor the placement. Well, there's trainings that have to occur yearly, and they're there to help support that caregiver and make sure that the needs of the individual is met. Okay. So overall, just my personal experience during this program. So my husband started this journey 7 years ago, and it has been one of the most rewarding experiences of our lives. So while he is technically the provider, I joined in, and I also am a provider just 3 years ago now. So we've been in this for 7 years together, but the top 3 things that are the most important to me is that this has been the best experience, I would say, of my life. The relationships that I've built with the 2 clients that we serve, their families, it is truly just extending your family. And that has been so rewarding. And then just the growth and progress of our clients. So, getting to see my client succeed in skills like their daily living skills, not being able to do something last year, but now they're doing it with independence, or just gaining those skills every single day that help them not need my support as much. And then just overall personal growth. My career has been in a school setting for over 10 years in special education. And this is just a step outside of that. It was outside of my comfort zone at first, and it has really helped me grow. And it's, watching somebody else feel comfortable and be able to provide a supporting and loving home has been truly rewarding. So I think those are the top 3 things that just make this experience stand out as an opportunity. And I truly believe that there are matches out there for every client that will have this same kind of experience and feel like it's hitting the jackpot. Any questions or concerns or anything, you can email me after this if you have specific questions or want some names of different providers in the area. I'm happy to do that. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much, Marissa. We're really excited to have you here for the first time, hopefully one of many times, because I do think, like you mentioned, that this is a service that not a lot of people know about, but can really enrich the lives of individuals with disabilities. I don't see any questions currently in the chat. I have a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I know that this is also just kind of based on your experience as a caregiver. So certainly if there's anything that I ask that is a little outside of that realm, just let me know.
Sure.
You talked a little bit about the licensing, like how people are licensed and they go through training. Can you speak a little bit to the training that you had to go through to become a caregiver?
Sure. I think there's some common ones that would be agency to agency, but some of the things that like I have to uphold are there are certain state guidelines for our home that we have to have in place in regards to safety and also like a comfortable living environment. We follow DHBDS requirements. And then there are like annual trainings such as like safety and crisis management and um, things like that. And then we have like kind of monthly or not monthly, quarterly audits and then state audits that can happen every single year from the state. So those are some of the things that we go through just being a part of the program, but the specifics I think would be based on what provider you choose.
Okay, gotcha. Do you know, are they typically someone that does have experience working with individuals with disabilities, or is that something that they can gain by working with their agency and going through that training?
I think it's the latter. I think that unless you have experience in this world, this might not be a position that you automatically gravitate towards
Sure.
or find. But I do think that you can gain that experience, and it could be part of that matching process of building the rapport with the individual and the family and spending time with them before you determine, oh, yes, this is a perfect match.
Right. Do you know if there's any restrictions as far as, I know there's some of the matchmaking process, but are there any restrictions for individuals with disabilities as far as this being a good fit for them? As to whether or not sponsored residential would be the way to go, like age or the disability that they have, or if they have multiple disabilities or anything like that?
Sure. I think, I don't know the answer to that directly. I think it also depends on the agency. I think a lot of that ties back to the waiver eligibility as well. So,
Okay, yeah,
talking about disability categories. So, I know primarily the community living is typically for intellectual disability or developmental disability categories. However, I'm sure there are exceptions or other waivers that could be accessed, but that I think would need to go through a CSB support.
okay, great. Um, can you talk a little bit about what the involvement looks like with that individual's family or other people that are part of their support team?
Sure. So, speaking to our experience, the family that I work with closely, we are close. We talk all the time. We talk every day. We, do holidays together. And, that's not the case for every situation. However, your communication with them is important and building that relationship because a lot of scheduling goes into kind of just day to days or even year by year is kind of how we plan. And I would say the key people that I talk to daily, if not maybe weekly, would be the parents of the client, the provider agency that we use, and the CSB support coordinator. Like we are kind of in constant communication. We have, monthly visits with the service the CSB. We have, weekly or monthly chats with the provider who oversees our program. And then with the parents, it's as much or as little as they choose.
Right.
We obviously want to help support our clients and continue their relationships with their families as they want. So really, it's also up to our clients. Like some nights, my client wants to call his parents every night. That's cool. Like, let's do it.
Mhm.
So it just kind of depends on case to case.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially because everyone's family dynamics are different naturally anyway. But I do think one of the important takeaways that I didn't know is it's not necessarily something where someone is not getting support from their family or they're being written off or anything like that, where sponsored residential is a last resort. Instead, it's something that just works to actually give them more independence and
Yeah.
allows their family to have some, reprieve from all that goes into living with an individual with disabilities.
No, absolutely. I think you covered that perfectly. It is not, some families might have that perspective of like it feels like kind of giving away my child or the responsibilities of my child, but it's not that at all. It honestly is such a beautiful thing to see. It's kind of like that next step for, when your child moves out and is living with roommates or, kind of living their independent life. I feel like this is hand in hand with that and helps support that individual just becoming more independent and doing things they want to do and that free choice of here's this. And also I'm sure a lot of families would agree, whether you have some caregivers or respite support that comes in and out, that maybe your child or the individual has different relationships with different people and might their behavior might change based on who they're
Or
around. So that can be a positive thing on the relationships they build.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you for now. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you're on the call, feel free to. Marissa's going to stick around until the end. So if you do have any questions that come to mind while Kelsey is presenting, then you'll have an opportunity after we stop the recording to ask those questions, and you can still continue to put them in the chat. So thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and switch gears over to Kelsey with GRTC, and she's going to be talking about the travel training. So we're going to give her a second to get her presentation up, and then Marissa and I are gonna turn off our cameras.
All right, everyone. My name is Kelsey Calder. I am with GRTC, and I am their travel training instructor. I have been with the program for over 9 years, going on 10. I started the program at GRTC. I was a special education teacher. I was licensed for 10 years before I did this. I am the first nationally certified travel trainer, as Kristen said. So far, I have trained over 280 individual and small groups over the past 9 years. And so I hope as you learn more about the system that GRTC has and provides for the people of the Richmond metro area, you'll also learn that travel training is super flexible and that I can help you learn how to get around using Richmond system. So the types of transit service we have, I'm going to give you some transportation jargon because I know not everyone that goes to Northstar is from the Richmond area. So this transportation jargon should be applicable wherever you do live. So we have our fixed route service. So that is like the big city bus that rides a route. Anyone can use it. For us, we number our buses. So you might see the 19, the 1A, the 7A, 7B. Right now, everything is free, at least until June of this year, hopefully more years to come. But when it did cost money, it was still very cheap, $3.50, and you could ride as many buses as you wanted every day. We do have some express buses, and those have an X at the end, and those are like commuter buses, so they just run in the morning and in the afternoon to get you to and from work. We have our bus rapid transit system. We call that the Pulse. It is blue and green, and you see that if you are familiar with the Richmond area, it's driving down Broad Street from Willow Lawn to Rockets Landing, and it has a bus lane, so it is red. This kind of mimics like a metro or a subway where you don't have to signal to get off, and the bus stops at every brick station that we do have. Then we have our paratransit system. It is our curb to curb service, and you have to be found eligible to use it. So there is a doctor portion to that. If you are 80 and older, you automatically qualify, but under 80, there's a doctor portion. So we call ours the Caravan, and that is a shared ride service. So you make the reservation where you want to go the day ahead, up to a week ahead if you would like. So if you want to, and you can go anywhere you want. So just like with the regular bus, you can go to your friend's house, to the grocery store, just to a store, just to see, you want to go shopping. You can go to your grandma's house, as long as it's within our service area. And right now our Caravan service area is all of Henrico County, all of Richmond City, and little pockets of Chesterfield where our fixed route buses go. And then once you're eligible for our Caravan service, you're automatically eligible for our Care on Demand service. This still costs money, even though everything I've mentioned up until this point has been free. So this is like Uber or Lyft, and it actually might be an Uber or Lyft driver, but they have been given extra training and extra support through a company called Userve. So it starts at $6 a ride. GRTC pays the next $15, and then any other costs would come back to the client. But you can make same day trips, and sometimes even as little as 20 minutes out, they can come and get you. Now, this is our new service that we've offered since last year. It's our micro transit service. This is on-demand travel. It is free. and you don't have to apply for it, even though the vehicle that will come get you will look like a caravan. We have an app for it, or you can call regular customer service, and we have different zones. So like the caravan, there's certain zones and you can't go out of the zones. So right now we have our Azalea zone, which is Memorial Regional Hospital in Mechanicsville, Department for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Henrico High School, that kind of area. That connects to our bus, to our Route 1 buses. Then we have an Ashland zone, which is up to Randolph-Macon College, that Amtrak station. And then now it actually comes into Henrico County at Virginia Center Commons. Then we have our Sandston Elko zone, which is the east end of Henrico, White Oaks, the airport area. It doesn't go into the deeper part of like the Varina area right now. We have our Cloverdale zone, which is kind of just up and down Whole Street in Chesterfield, and our Powhatan zone, which goes to Westchester Commons, the Walmart, and the Powhatan County Library. So this is what our link van looks like. So it's very similar to what our caravan looks like, if you've seen that. And then in the corner right there, that's the picture of the app that you would need if you wanted to do the link service. This is kind of an overview of how the bus, so the fixed route bus is that green line on the map, and then the purple, the shadowy purple line, that's the Sandston zone for the link van service. So you can see it goes deeper into Henrico County in the east end than our bus goes right now. So it's just to help people to get to where they need to go. And again, microtransit, all of the microtransit zones are free. So our fixed route service area, it goes all the way past Short Pump, and this is actually even a little too old now. We go all the way to Virginia Center Commons on our fixed route bus to the airport, and then all the way down to Bright Point Community College in Chester. But we have a full service map on our website. These are just little pockets I wanted to show. So how would you use the fixed route bus? Besides calling me, you can actually do Google Maps, and it ties right into directions. So it gives you walking directions to the bus stop. It tells you where to wait, tells you what time the bus comes. It tells you where to get off. And it, if you have data on your phone, it can actually show you the route as you would car directions, the whole route. So back when Northstar was over, the Career Academy was over on Staples Mill, you could access it via the bus. It was the number 18. So up at the top, you have the little transit icon next to the car. You want to always make sure you're in transit. You can click what time you want to depart at or arrive. So if you have to get to work or a doctor's appointment, you can make sure that you're there on time, and then what time you want to leave. And then underneath where it says like the time, and then there's a little, again, bus, and then a box with 18 in it. That just means that's the bus route that you would take. But then you can expand the Google directions, and you can see how to walk, how long the walk is. So it's pretty cool. And if you don't like Google Maps, we still have our paper bus schedules that I can teach people how to read. This is one of our number 12. It's our Churchill bus. So you can see on there, you might see like G, F, E, H, C. Those are time points. So the reason why I don't really like a bus schedule is because people get confused and think those are the only bus stops. But no, these are just time points that the bus follows. And then over here, again, we have a free app, the GRTC app. I'm sorry that it got cut off. And that can give you real-time bus arrival. If you're using Google Maps right now, it's in beta to do real-time bus arrival. So, it might be obsolete to use our GRTC app going forward once Google figures it out. We also have a transit app, which is free. And the transit app goes to multiple different cities if their transit agency has paid into it. So that is free to anyone to use in Richmond. And then you can also use that if you don't want to use Google Maps or Apple Maps. But but I think Google and Apple Maps are a little easier to start with. So this is one of our bus stop poles. So this is where those purple and silver fixed route buses would come pick you up. Things of note on this, you have the little, and actually it's applicable for maybe today and tomorrow, the little snowflake up there. That actually means it's a snow route, so that bus stop, even though GRTC might go on snow routes, the bus will still come to that bus stop. The stop number is individual. So right there it says 3774. That is, you will never see that bus stop number on any other bus stop sign. So if you were to call the customer service number, which is also located below, you could say, I'm at bus stop, 3774. When's the next bus coming? Where am I? How do I get here? And the customer service representative will know exactly where you are and be able to give you directions. And then underneath the bigger flag, it says 19 Daily West Broad Street. That's just an example of one of the bus routes that would stop at that bus stop sign. So the 19 and then Daily means the bus comes every day, and West Broad Street is the name of the bus route. So this is one of the 18. So this actually used to go by the old Career Academy. As you can see, the front says 18, tells you where it's going, Henrico Government Center. On this bus stop pole, there's actually a no smoking sign, and a couple other numbered buses that also stop at that bus stop. And then too, you can see that you can also take your bike on the bus. There are 2 spots on our purple and silver buses, and then on the Pulse bus, there are up to 3 bike locations. Just another visual of our buses. So this one says 1 northbound. And then as you can see, the woman walking on the bus, there's a ramp. So obviously, if you're using a mobility device, that's where you would get on. You can also request the ramp, even if you do not have a mobility device. So, you do not, those steps might be too hard for you to get up into the bus. It's just about a 1 step, but if there's no curb, it can be pretty high sometimes for people. So you can always request the ramp and the driver would let you out, or let the ramp out and get you on. So the inside of our bus. So as you can see, you walk on, there are a bunch of seats. On the right-hand side, that little TV screen, that's our updated bus stop announcement sign. So it tells you what bus you're on, the 78, and then the next, Colorado and Eggleston, that's the bus stop that's coming up. And then underneath of that are the bus stops after that. So you can kind of prepare yourself and get ready. In the front of the bus, the seats actually flip up. And so anyone using a mobility device, that is where they would be secured and tied down using a 4-point harness system. And then on the right-hand side, that yellow cord, that's how you signal how to get off the bus. So your bus stop's coming up, you pull the cord, and the driver lets you off. This is one of our pulse stations, and actually all of our pulse stations look the same. They're just called something different. So even if they are in the middle of the street versus on the sidewalk, they still are the same. So up at the top, at the roof area, that tells you when the next bus is coming. So you don't need an app or your phone for that. And the pulse comes during the day about every 10 to 15 minutes. So it's very quick. So this is the pulse as it pulls up. Right now we only have 1 pulse, so it's just going westbound or eastbound. The black truncated domes versus the yellow, that's just where the front of the door for the bus stops. And even if you are getting on the bus in the middle of the road, all of our pulse stations connect to a crosswalk signal. So that was a lot of transportation knowledge, and that's kind of what I do. I teach people all of the ins and outs of how to get around Richmond. It is free for anyone age 15 and older. And then we provide different types of travel training to people. One-on-one travel training is our most popular travel training. Again, open to anyone. It is free. It is a first come, first served basis. And so I do prioritize people with disabilities and seniors, but it can be open to anyone. So how do you start one-on-one travel training? It starts with an in-person meeting. I usually come to the person's home. Any caregiver or case manager is welcome. I ask a series of 10 questions that I ask everyone, and then there's a liability waiver that needs to be signed. Depending on what the person needs, then that's what we do to actually start the training. So that can just be, am I able to walk to the nearest bus stop? Is it safe enough? So we might try that together. Just taking a trip on the bus and seeing if the sounds and the smells are okay, to start learning the actual route. Sometimes people just want to learn how to use the technology and they're already familiar with the bus from somewhere else, and then learning how to plan trips. There is no time frame for one-on-one travel training, and we work together until the person can safely and independently travel. This is an open conversation. This is not something where I'm just taking notes and you won't know until you pass or fail the test. I make something, and if that person doesn't like that trip or doesn't like how we crossed somewhere, or said, oh, I don't want to cross here, but maybe if it was a little calmer, I don't care if it adds an extra 15 minutes to my trip, I would rather do that, because at the end of the day, this is the person who's traveling is the person who is using this. So I want to make it as friendly as possible for them. And then, so if you already do one trip with me, we already do a route and you're good to go, but then you want to learn something else, that is completely fine. We can learn multiple routes. I just always make sure you do one route first, get comfortable with that before we start tacking on extra knowledge. Personal mobility device training. This is kind of, I would say we're probably going to phase this out at some point, but it's open to our care customers only, also free. And they can come to our bus yard and practice getting on and off our buses without, anyone there. And so it's just getting on, getting off, figuring out how to turn, what's the best way for the person. A couple years ago, we had a lot of different types of buses. So that was kind of where this came from, but now we all have the same bus. So even though the Pulse bus is, blue and green versus our purple and silver buses, they're still the same on the inside. So then again, this is more for like bus orientation travel training, free, open to anyone. It's good for groups or like seasoned bus riders who might just need a little extra help. And so 1 to 2 meetings maybe with them. But again, it's very flexible. You might think you only need bus orientation travel training, but then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I need to tack on more. So again, travel training is very flexible. And then if you are in a service area with GRTC or, a fixed route bus, you can still practice bus skills by, practicing your pedestrian street skills, crosswalks, crossing with a stoplight, crossing with construction. What do you do if there's a detour? You can identify buses wherever you're going. If you're identifying GRTC vehicles, we have our caravan, our link van, our fixed route buses, and our pulse buses. You can identify operators by our uniform. So we have a GRTC uniform that all of our drivers wear, except if you saw them this weekend, they were wearing their Super Bowl jerseys. You can use a map app to plan trips. So maybe you're not using the bus, but maybe you're using it to walk around your neighborhood, or you're using it to give your parents directions when they're driving. We do have some how to ride YouTube videos. They're a little dated, but the information is still good. You might want to figure out how much money you would save by taking public transit versus Uber or Lyft, dressing for the weather. And then my favorite is if you are in Richmond, follow the bus in a car and kind of see where it goes and see how many people are getting on and off the bus. And then if you don't have any type of public transit and you're kind of wondering where to start, see if you have a mobility manager or a disability advisory board in your area, and they might be able to point you in the right direction for some transportation. So this is our caravan, looks very much like the link. This right now, the caravan does not cost money, but the care on demand part of it does. So if you want to apply for the caravan, you can just go to our website under services, specialized transportation, and click on care. You want to apply through a company called ADA Ride. And the reason why we do this is because GRTC does not have doctors or nurses on staff. So to keep all your information private, it goes to ADA Ride. You can call them or you can do an online application. And then our eligibility coordinator, her number is below. Her name is Angela Alla. So she might say, I can't help you with the ADA Ride part, but once it comes to GRTC, then she'd be able to help you. And then if you are found eligible for the caravan, like I said before, you have access to Care on Demand. This is how you find the up-to-date services for Care on Demand. So under our services, specialized transportation, Care on Demand. And right now that's just through a company called UServe. People might just call it UServe, but make sure that you're talking about Care on Demand, because UServe is a company in Richmond that you can use without the caravan. So that means without GRTC's money. So I could sign up for UServe right now and use it, but I wouldn't be eligible for GRTC's money. So just make sure that when you set up your account with UServe, that you're doing the Care on Demand account. So you want to make sure that you're not paying more money than you need to. All right, and so that is it for me. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Kelsey, for joining us again. For those of you who don't know, Kelsey's come quite a few times. She is a seasoned family education night speaker, and we're so grateful to have her because we talk a lot about transition, right? And the idea that it's this gradual process where individuals are trying to gain more independence, and certainly the ability to get around in an accessible way and go to your own doctor's appointments and find a job and things like that is a big part of independence and a big part of what you do. So thank you for being here. Mm-hmm. We had a question in the chat that's it's specific to Northstar, where someone was asking about if a child was to take GRTC to or from Northstar, where would the closest bus stop be? And so I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about the service area piece and what services are available out that way. We're out at Knuckles Road.
Yes. So right now, as it stands, there's no fixed route bus. So there's going to be no bus stop with that no bus stop pole or like a pole station, as I showed you before in the pictures. But that's where you would apply for the caravan service. And then the caravan, because it is curb to curb, would take you to the curb, the front door of Northstar, kind of like a bus route. Sorry, not even a bus route. You're like a bus loop. So yeah, so that's where you would apply for the caravan. If you are found eligible, your home, or at least the starting point for your family, would need to be in the service area as well. So again, for the caravan, that is Henrico County, Richmond City, and little pockets of Chesterfield, based on where the bus goes. So if you're within that service area, they can take you through the caravan can take you from your home straight to Northstar's door.
I would love to jump on that if I could. This is a great example of how a lot of our families have used this service, even if they don't live within the bounds. And that's one of the things that does pop up when you map. Like I just mapped from Northstar to Reynolds Community College because I needed 2 places. And the first step is calling a Lyft, or you could call UServe. But instead of paying the full fee for you to drive to your final destination, what some of our families have done is found a safe space within the jurisdiction of GRTC. A lot of times a public library works really well. And then you can either drive your family member there, or you could Lyft there, and then they've got a place to kind of hang out and then navigate from there on the bus system. So what happens to a number of students when they graduate from our program is they will start working, but they won't necessarily be working an 8-hour shift Monday to Friday, but mom and dad are. So, mom and dad are trying to work on getting them to and from work, and they're working from, 10 to 3. Well, one option is to be in that safe space, get dropped off early there, take the bus from there to work, from work, and then get picked up by a family member or another support person after that, or take user from there.
Mhm.
It's a really good option also for socializing. And I have to say, when our students learn how to navigate the bus system on their own and they're able to go independently to meet a friend or to go to work, you see them walk tall in a way that they haven't done before. I say this every year, but it's true. It's so true. And there is a sense of pride and self-confidence that comes with that. That is just, I mean, it's irreplaceable. It makes your day every year when we see somebody reach that milestone. So thank you, Kelsey, for all you do, because I know you've worked with a number of them. So I would just encourage families to consider this, even families whose if your student is somebody who's might get a driver's license, this can still be a great option because first of all, you save a ton of money. Second of all, having a driver's license doesn't necessarily mean you want to pay for a car and insurance and gas and all of that. And finally, during winter weather or other major incidents, maybe you don't want to drive in the ice or in a thunderstorm or after dark, or maybe your seizures have been active lately, or for whatever reason, you don't want to drive during this period of time. Knowing the bus system is a great tool to have in your toolbox so it doesn't disrupt your routine. So thank you so much for visiting us again. The final thing that I know a lot of parents respond to when I speak to them is you don't just call Kelsey and get thrown to the wolves. She's going to come meet with you and talk to you before a plan unfolds. I know she mentioned that, but I just want to underscore that. So, you can have that conversation with her before you ever make a concrete plan. It's not like you just, take your family member and wish them luck. It doesn't work that way. We take it one step at a time.
Yes. And also too, you can, we can always try it. We can try it. And if you're like, ooh, I don't think so, that's fine. You're not hurting. I didn't make the bus system. I didn't make the bus routes. I didn't make the bus drivers. I didn't do anything. So we can try it. And if you guys don't like it, that's fine with me.
So quick question, with your travel training, is it, I know that you talked a lot about the buses. Do you also provide the training if someone was to use the Caravan or one of the other services that GRTC offers?
Yes, so I can do the Link van service. We can actually do, where I would ride with you on Link. But for the Caravan, it's a little tricky because of what the ADA allows. So I can't actually ride with you on the Caravan, but I can come and I can explain every little detail about the Caravan to you.
And kind of walk through the whole process.
Yes.
And I know you had mentioned that the application process, and we've done this with a few students too, is through the ADA rides. Is that, you mentioned that you and I think Angela, the woman,
Angela, yes,
do not necessarily walk individuals through the ADA rides application process. Is there a contact for
not a
someone?
specific contact?
Okay.
I would just contact ADA Ride in general and just kind of explain, what you need from them. If you need a little more hand holding, that's fine. Just tell them that. But yeah, I don't have a specific one. And, I've worked at GRTC 9 years and I think I've seen just like snippets of an application, because that means that person had to share it with me. So that's why we can't really walk you through like, okay, this is how you sign this one, this is how you do this one. But I'll also, for that, think about your worst day. I know some Holly mentioned, think about your worst day. Make sure your doctor knows, or whoever is, doing your application with you, that we're not trying to make this, oh, well, of course they can do it, except for maybe one day out of the month. Think of that one day out of the month and how that affects you. Just so that's an accurate description and picture of what could happen to you and why you would need the service.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. When in the beginning, when you mentioned all the different services that you offer, like the microtransit, the Caravan, when you're visiting with families and meeting with them and you're asking them those questions, I'm sure there's a lot of factors that go into what your recommendations are, but is there like a guideline as far as level of individual independence that you would kind of match up with those different services, whether you're recommending the bus or you're recommending the on-demand?
Yeah, so it really, it depends on the person. Actually, a former Northstar Career Academy person. I worked with him all summer on fixed route, and they were in the process of applying for the caravan, and we did fixed route, and I was just like, I don't think this is going well. I really don't. I think, with mom's support too, we're like, we're getting there. But just right now at this moment, it wasn't working out. But the caravan, he goes everywhere independently, so I'd say fixed route, like the city bus, that's going to be like way independent. And we can do that. We can spend 30 trips learning that first route. That's fine with me. But sometimes, having the caravan, because it does take you from, right outside your home to where you want to go, and you don't have to think about anything. You can just sit back and kind of relax for a little bit. Care on demand is a little, it does cost money, but same thing, kind of, you get in the vehicle, that driver is going to take you right to your destination. But that's the cool thing about the link system. So no one has asked me to teach them microtransit yet, but links just like that, but it's available to anyone as long as you're in the service area. So I think that's going to become way more popular too.
That's awesome. It's exciting that you keep adding stuff too. So, because that just means that it's going to reach more and more people. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I think we're okay to go ahead and wrap up the recording. Thank you again for being here tonight. I wanted to let the participants know, remember that the presentations and other resources will be sent to you, and they'll also be available on our Family Education Night webpage sometime probably later this week, so that you can reference those and all the wonderful information that we talked about tonight. For those of you who are joining us live, you're welcome to stay on after we stop the recording to ask either Kelsey or Marissa some additional personal questions. If you have those, you'll have a chance to turn on your cameras and ask that. And we look forward to seeing you next month for our Family Education Night, where we're going to be talking about job searching and learning about employment service organizations.